Takuto was a terminally ill boy who reincarnated into the world of his favorite game after his death alongside his favorite game character. While the two of them decide to build an empire together just like they did in the game, they have no idea that Takuto has been reborn as the legendary king of ruin who will destroy the world so that it can be reborn. Takuto is a terminally ill boy who spends most of his time playing a civilization-building strategy game called Eternal Nations. One day, as he is starting the game again after accomplishing everything, he quietly passes away. He feels like he is sinking into darkness, and when he opens his eyes, he finds himself sitting on a stone throne in the middle of a forest. He doesn't understand what is happening, but then a familiar figure appears in front of him. Takuto immediately recognizes the woman as Atu, the sludge witch, who was his favorite character from the game of Eternal Nations. He remembers how he decided to play Eternal Nations at the most difficult level by picking up the Kingdom of Ruin and Evil, Minogra, as his starting point. Luckily, it came with Atu, a character who is incredibly weak at first, but she absorbs the abilities of the enemies she defeats and becomes the strongest by the end. Atu calls Takuto her king, and he wonders if this is some sort of role-play situation that he needs to go along with. However, Atu tells him that he doesn't need to think so hard about it, because she knows everything already. She knows his name, as well as the fact that he has never touched grass in his life. He was the pro among pros who completed the game on nightmare difficulty with the most tricky civilization. Takuto is astonished to hear that she knows about him being a player and her being a character inside the game, and Atu tells him that she remembers all their games as well. She knows his playstyle as well as all the things he said to her through the screen, and all the times he busted one out in her name. Takuto is incredibly happy on realizing that he can talk to his favorite character face to face, and Atu tells that she is even more happy. He then asks her if this is heaven and if she summoned him to this place, but Atu tells him that she was summoned to this place too. As for the location, she feels that it is like the world of Eternal Nations. She then quickly kneels before Takuto and holds his hand, saying that since they are here together, it doesn't matter what kind of place this is. She says that they should team up again and build a civilization just for the two of them. Takuto doesn't even know what to say as Atu pulls him down from his throne, telling him that they have conquered the world multiple times in the past, and they should consider this a chance for a brand new beginning. Takuto likes the idea, and he asks Atu to serve him to form a glorious civilization, and she gladly agrees. She then pretends to be a badass witch and officially pledges her loyalty to him. But then both of them get embarrassed at those cringe-level dialogues. With that, Takuto tells Atu that she already knows what is the first thing they do at Minogra. She affirms, saying that they will become shut-ins and hide their existence from the rest of the world. The next thing that Takuto does is using his emergency skill to produce a giant-sized bug to scout the nearby area. Takuto and Atu discuss how it is one of their core rules to completely hide their presence from other players in the early game, and scouts like this are helpful to gather information without revealing themselves. Takuto then commands the bug to gather information from the surroundings, and it immediately darts away to do its mission. Atu is surprised because she didn't expect things to go so smoothly in this new and unfamiliar world, and Takuto tells her that he can only share the vision of the bug, just like in the game. He then says that he spent half of his mana to create the scout, and now his best choice is to create a starting settlement for them. He wishes that he had a bit more mana to create a fighter to defend them, but that is not possible right now. Atu gets a bit depressed on hearing this because she is really weak right now and she can't even protect herself. Forget about Takuto. Anyway, Takuto keeps scouting the area through the bug's eyes, and he says that there is nothing but forest here. Atu gets sad because she can't help him right now, but he tells her that her presence is good enough for him, and she gets really happy on hearing this. Just then, the bug comes across a group of poor and tired dark elves. Atu says that this is a good news for them because dark elves are a neutral species, though they incline a bit towards the neutral evil side, and their kingdom is also Loki neutral evil. However, this news worries Takuto, who begins wondering if this is really the world of Eternal Nations. He begins thinking that if there is another civilization nearby, his kingdom is most certainly going to be destroyed right now. But Atu tells him that if they are in any kind of danger, they will flee away together. Takuto tells her that she couldn't be more right, and he decides to keep an eye on the Dark Elves while scouting the area some more for now. While they are doing their silly chants and celebrations, a group of Dark Elves suddenly arrives there. They are as shocked to see Takuto and Atu as they are shocked to see them, and Atu decides to put her life on the line if her master is in any sort of danger. Turns out, the leader of the Dark Elves, Gia, was on a mission to find food for his people who are too tired and hungry to move. His assistant told him that they should not be in this forest because legends say that something incredibly evil is sealed away in this place. But Gia told her that he can't back down just because of that, because his people need him. Just as he was thinking that, he suddenly came face to face with Atu and Takuto, who seemed to him like the avatar of evil. He is struck with fear as he can only see a black silhouette in place of Takuto, and now he is sure that the stories about something incredibly evil in this place are not false. He thinks that if he makes a mistake here, his entire clan could be wiped out. So he quickly kneels before Takuto and introduces himself. His followers do the same, and then Gia apologizes to Takuto for trespassing in his territory. Atu suddenly starts acting like a gangster and says that it is good to see that they know their place. She asks him why did the Dark Elves come here, and Gia begins his sob story to get some sympathy. However, Atu gets bored and tells him to get to the point quickly, scaring the shit out of him. He immediately tells her that his clan was banished by the council, and they are being persecuted even now. Suddenly, Takuto asks him if they faced great difficulty, and Gia freezes from panic. However, when Atu tells him to answer the king's question, he explains that their clan was punished unjustly, and they were forced to enter these cursed lands to stay safe. However, their food supply ended a week ago, and now his people are starving because they haven't been able to find any source of food here. Gia starts thinking about the hardships his clan faced when all they wanted was to live peacefully. He wonders if Takuto will be cruel to them too, but to his surprise, Takuto throws some apples at him, telling him that he should try them out because they are delicious. Gia has never seen apples before, and he is doubtful about them. But his followers don't have his patience, and they begin gobbling down the apples while exclaiming how sweet they are. Takuto suddenly creates some pears too, and Gia is left completely stunned. Atu asks him why is he not eating the fruits that her master has so gracefully given him, and the Dark Elf immediately bows before Takuto, saying that there are more people in his tribe who are starving. He wants to feed them, especially the children before himself, and Takuto takes pity on him. He starts summoning a huge amount of food, much to Atu's horror and Gia's shock. Dark Elves like him have always been discriminated against because people believe they belong to the dark side, and no one has ever tried to help them before now. He asks Takuto who exactly is he, but he just tells him to take the food to his people. Gia and his followers soon return to their camp with the food, and everyone finally gets to eat till they are full. Gia, however, refuses to reveal how he got the food to other elves, but at night, while he is sitting alone by the campsite, the clan elder arrives there. He remarks that the fruits he brought earlier were different from anything he has seen in his long life, and they were more tasty than any other fruit. He asks Gia where did he get those fruits from, and he tells the elder about his meeting with the legendary evil being. The elder is shocked because Gia met the King of Ruin who is mentioned in ancient books. He says that according to those books, when the world has become too full, the King of Ruin will appear and destroy the world so it can have a fresh start. Gia feels like Takuto meets the description of the King of Ruin, but truth be told, he couldn't even understand a single thing that Takuto said, and he only acted on hints that he got from Atu's behavior. The elder is not sure about that part yet, but he asks Gia if he gave Takuto anything in return for the food. He says that he didn't give anything in return, and the elder says that no evil being would show mercy to someone without getting something in return. Gia, however, believes that Takuto is a merciful being who took pity on his people's suffering, and that angers the elder. He asks Gia how can he talk about an evil being with such respect, but after a bit of debate, he realizes that Gia did his best and secured food for his people. After that, Elder Molter declares that he will negotiate with the Dark King as the senior-most Dark Elf, and hopefully, their clan will be able to get the peaceful life they have always dreamt of. On the other hand, Atu scolds Takuto for using his mana to create food for the elves when he doesn't have enough for it. But the moment he tells her not to be upset at him because he needs her, she starts acting like a simp again. The next day, Gia gets ready to visit Takuto again, and Elder Molter asks him if he is ready to face the king. He believes that since they have already accepted charity from the Dark King, they must be ready to pay any price he asks in return. Gia objects, saying that Takuto never said anything like that. But Molter replies that it is just the way of nature for evil beings to ask for compensation in exchange of the good deeds they do. However, he agrees that they need to keep relying on Takuto to survive, because no place else is safe for them. The two of them decide to go to Takuto together, unaware that his insect scout was keeping an eye on them the whole time. Takuto immediately calls the bug back to report to him, and when he learns that the elves are coming, he just wishes that they take the rest of the food he prepared for them yesterday and leave quietly. He gets nervous as he explains that he gets nervous and can't communicate properly, so he doesn't know if he can negotiate with the Dark Elves. Atu tells him that she will do it for him, and it will also show the Dark Elves that her king doesn't even talk to the likes of them. Soon after that, Molter and Gia arrive there, and the old elf greets Takuto with some ChatGPT-generated salutation, thanking him for providing food to his people. He then asks if he can know the name of the person who helped them, and on receiving Takuto's permission, Atu shares his name, declaring him as the King of Ruin. Both the Dark Elves are shocked to have their fears confirmed, and then Atu tells them to take the food and leave because it won't last long anyway. However, Molter says that he wants to repay Takuto for the kindness he showed them, and asks what can they offer him in return. Atu simply tells them that they won't have anything that will be able to satisfy her king anyway, so they shouldn't even bother trying. She asks the elves if they really have anything they even consider valuable, and Molter hesitates because there is nothing like that with them anymore. Atu gives him a death stare on seeing him hesitate and asks if he is plotting something. Molter starts panicking and Takuto realizes that the negotiation is going very badly now. He suddenly calls Atu to discuss their approach, and she gets mad because Takuto is planning to be too lenient. She tells him that these two losers don't even know how to negotiate, and at this rate, they will only become obstacles in his path. She suggests killing them all and putting their heads on pillars around their base, but Takuto asks her to stop turning into that one Austrian painter. He says that the elves just want to coexist peacefully with him, and they want to pay him back for the same reason. He suggests that they ask them to pay in a way they can rather than giving them food for free, because it will keep their relationships with the elves good. Atu can't argue with that, and she tells the elves that her king has decided to accept their offerings. On seeing the relief on Molter's face, both Takuto and Atu realize that he was so nervous because he thought of Takuto as the typical evil being. Atu rebukes him for that, but then she gets confused about what to ask in return for the food. Suddenly, Takuto gets an idea, and he tells her to ask the elves about the outside world. Molter is really glad to hear this, and he swears to tell Takuto everything he has seen and heard in the outside world in detail. Atu says that once he has done that, he is supposed to leave the forest with his tribe immediately, and that shocks both Gia and Molter. They say that they would like to keep living in the forest under Takuto's mercy, but Atu tells them to stop being greedy if they want to live. Gia tries to argue, but Molter shuts him up, saying that they need to obey the command of the king. They begin to leave, but now Takuto feels bad for casting them out. He suddenly gets an idea and tells Molter and Gia to become his citizens. Both of them are shocked to hear this, but not as much as Atu, who asks Takuto what the hell is he doing. He reminds her about the refugee system in the game, which allows them to take in different species as their citizens. He remarks that since Dark Elves are a neutral species, they will easily adapt to the evil attribute of their kingdom, and then they can coexist with the other species living in their kingdom. Atu is still doubtful because species with evil alignment tend to have conflicts among each other. But Takuto reminds her that their main species called homunculi look like humans that were taken apart and put back poorly, and they can't spend all their time with them. Atu immediately agrees with him as soon as the creepy image of the homunculi pops up in her mind. She turns to the two elves, telling them that Takuto plans to build a kingdom here soon, and he is ready to accept them as his citizens if they pledge to serve him. Molter is taken aback at this, and he asks Atu what will happen if they choose to become his citizens, and she makes it clear that they will become evil beings, but she tells them that it is more fun than they think to be evil. Soon after that, Takuto and Atu head to the settlement of the Dark Elves, where everyone is ready to welcome him. Everyone is terrified of him, and some of the weaker ones faint just on seeing one glimpse of him. Takuto takes his throne with Atu by his side, who tells the Dark Elves that now they are going to become the citizens of their kingdom Minegra. She asks Takuto one final time if he is sure about it, and just as he gives his permission, the elves are accepted into his kingdom, and Atu congratulates them because now their survival and safety is guaranteed by their new king. Gia wonders if that is all because he doesn't feel any different even though he should have become an evil being. Suddenly, he regrets his words as intense hatred erupts inside him and the other elves. They think about the people who hurt and prosecuted their kind and are filled with the desire to get revenge, and the two normal elves with them are worried about them. Seeing everyone suffering, Takuto asks them if they are fine, and Gia is moved to tears on realizing that someone cares for him and his people now. The Dark Elves start cheering on Takuto with tears in their eyes, and he is low-key overwhelmed by this. A few days later, Takuto receives a map of the continent from Molter, and he crashes out just as he sees it. Atu asks him what is wrong, and he tells her to look at the map and see what a shitty starting position they have. They are on a continent where two huge and powerful civilizations are already present. One of them is the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a nation of humans who worship the god Arlos, and they are a hardcore good alignment civilization. On the other hand, there is Elnan, the alliance of elementals where elves who worship nature live. They are also aligned to the good side, and Atu panics on realizing that if they find their kingdom, they will quickly erase them. She crashes out along with Takuto, but then he calms down, saying that as long as they are not discovered, they can become stronger. He says that in the game, their main species homunculi are really dumb so they can't do much research, but now that they have dark elves, things should be better on that end. Soon after that, the Dark Elves pay him a visit, and this time, Gia has brought along his assistant Emily with him. He tells Takuto that Emily is a smart nerd, who knows a lot of stuff about other kingdoms, so she will definitely help him out more than them. Atu tells them that the king is pleased with their dedication, and then declares that they are going to take up important jobs from now onwards because it is what Takuto wants. First, she assigns Molter the duty to look over the internal affairs of the kingdom, and says that she has high hopes from him because she has learned that he knows magic as well. Next, she makes Gia the head warrior of Minagra and tells him to build up a strong army so that they can defend themselves. She leaves recruiting soldiers into their army entirely to him, and he gets hyped up, saying that he will kill all their enemies and display their heads as trophies, but Takuto is already grossed out. He says that war is barbaric, and Atu tells the confused Gia that their king prefers peace, so he should keep that in mind. This confuses the elf warrior even further as he wonders why would the king of ruin love peace. Well, Molter taunts Gia, and then immediately gets up, saying that unlike Gia, who only has muscles instead of brain, he will be more helpful. Gia takes this as a challenge, and he tells Takuto that he is young and strong, so he can work more without rest. Atu doesn't realize that they are just competing to get Big Evil Daddy's attention, and she thinks they are workaholics. She asks Takuto if they should give them a mission to collect resources, and he suggests that they should order them to beautify the terrain and create some houses. Atu immediately conveys this to Molter, telling him to gather enough timber to build homes while leaving the forest mostly intact. Molter says that he will immediately get to it because dark elves are forest dwellers originally. Takuto then tells them to reforest the parts they cut out, and this confuses the elves because they haven't heard the term. Takuto realizes that their civilization might not be as advanced as to understand reforesting, so he asks them if they know about military magic or the 6 major elements. Molter says that he only knows about the 4 major elements, and Emily says that she has never heard of any country using military magic. Takuto and Atu realize that this world is much more primitive than they thought, but it is actually a good thing because once they progress their magic technology, they can quickly overtake other nations. Atu then explains that reforesting means growing new trees in place of the ones they cut off, and the Dark Elves say that they do that too, but they can't use magic to grow them quickly. Atu says that reforesting uses the 6 major elements to quickly grow the tree, and she suddenly gives the credit for this discovery to Takuto, even though it is a big fat lie. She keeps glazing Takuto, saying that he created the unique fruits they ate earlier, and how grapes are her favorite. Emily agrees with Atu and says that she tried planting the grape seeds and some plants have already sprouted. This comes as surprising news to Takuto, who didn't think it would be possible to grow anything here. However, he quickly realizes that he could create the fruits from Earth here with magic, which means he might be able to create other things. He tests his theory out by creating a coin, and realizes that he can create gunpowder and other science stuff. In that way, he can advance his civilization much faster than other kingdoms. Meanwhile, in the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, things are starting to stir up as well. Saintess Selena is leading a group of knights to the foothills covered with snow to deal with some monsters that are a threat to the villages nearby. As soon as she sees the goblins running towards her, she points her staff at them, turning them into ash with her holy flame. The holy flame vanishes into the clouds after destroying the monsters, and as sunlight falls on the scorched ground, flowers sprout there. The Knight Captain tells his men that Selina's ability burns evil-natured monsters and creates a flower bed in their place, and she is the reason they have a friendly relationship with the elves. After that, Selina tells the Cardinal that he should send paladins to the south instead, because she recently had an omen about something terrible happening in the Cursed Forest. The Cardinal refuses, saying that the Cursed Forest lies at the farthest end of the continent, and he needs permission from higher-ups to deploy paladins there. Selina threatens to go there herself if he can't send anyone, and though the Cardinal tries to fight back, he backs down and promises to send the soldiers he can personally mobilize. At the same time, Takuto and Atu are busy with developing their territory, starting with building some houses for the Dark Elves. A temporary throne room has already been built around Takuto's throne, and he is eager to hold meetings and conferences with the important citizens of his kingdom. Just then, Molter, Gia and Emle arrive there, and Atu tells them that they should immediately start their first council meeting. However, Emle has a gift for Takuto before the meeting, and it is an outfit that makes him look like a femboy. He is glad to receive the outfit because his clothes were getting dirty, and he thanks the elves for that. However, the elves see no change in his appearance, but they trust Atu when she tells them that Takuto looks great in the outfit they prepared. With that out of the way, she starts the council meeting, but Takuto is too busy fanboying after himself. Atu decides to continue the meeting without him and consult him whenever they need any input, and Takuto is completely fine with that suggestion. As the meeting starts, Molter asks Atu what kind of buildings should they make first. She tells him that they should start with food production facilities, and then pulls out a creepy-looking plant which is going to be their main source of food for now. The elves are grossed out on seeing the plant and ask Atu to explain what exactly is it. She tells them that it is the flesh plant, which is unique to their civilization. She explains that the plant can produce meat which tastes like human flesh, and it is quite nutritious. The elves are taken aback on hearing that, and they say that they don't really eat humans, but Atu tells them that the flesh plant is just for the starting phase, and soon they will have other types of foods available to them. She then says that they must also create storehouses and management sheds along with the farms, and Emily decides to take up that job. After that, Atu moves on to the next item on her agenda, which is research, because acquiring advanced technology is especially important for small nations like theirs. Molter asks her what sort of technology should they focus on, and she tells him that they will research magic technology. Takuto is really excited to see that happen, and Molter says that as a mage, he will do his best to impress him. He then asks Atu exactly what kind of magic technology he should research, and she tells him about military magic. She explains that standard attack magic can only target a handful of people at a time, but advanced military magic can destroy entire cities and even change the terrain to their advantage. Atu tells him to gather the elves talented in magic and start working on the research immediately, and Molter is hyped to create magic spells that don't yet exist in this world. Next up, Atu moves to the topic of their military strategy, and Gia gets excited because it is his turn now. However, Takuto immediately tells him that they are not going to invest too heavily in the army right now. Atu adds that armies are expensive to maintain, but they don't produce anything in return in times of peace. Gia argues that they don't have enough strength to protect their king currently, and thus they should pay more attention to their military. Molter also adds that both he and Gia have bounties on their heads as the leader of Dark Elves, and their enemies might attack the kingdom. Takuto understands their concerns and decides to create a hero to defend them instead. Atu agrees, saying that creating a hero is expensive, but they need no maintenance, so they are perfect for their current needs. The elves don't know what a hero is, and Atu tells them that heroes are incredibly strong beings who serve directly under the king. There are conditions to summon different heroes, but she is confident that they can summon the first one quite soon, and Takuto is excited for that. He thinks about how they need mana to do most things in this world, and a kingdom can only collect mana from its people. The happier the people are, the more mana they can collect, and Takuto is determined to make his kingdom the happiest place on this planet. Meanwhile, in the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a junior paladin named Lonius has been selected as a part of the investigation team to be sent to the Cursed Forest. A senior paladin Verdal is also with him, and his favorite way to kill time is to annoy Lonius, who is too straight-laced and formal. Verdal complains that they are sending an awfully small investigation team that involves just 2 paladins and some mercenaries. He says that the church should pay more attention to Selena's prophecy, and Lonius agrees, but he knows that they can't guess what the higher-ups are thinking. He knows that if they succeed, they will be rewarded greatly, but if they fail, all the blame will most definitely fall on his head. Back in Minagra, Takuto inspects the progress of his civilization. He feels nostalgic because he has seen the starting phase of his civilization thousands of times on a screen till now, but this time, he is seeing it up close. Emle gives him a tour, telling him that the Dark Elves specialize in building houses on trees, but the pace of building houses is slow right now because they are focusing on the flesh trees. The flesh trees are growing well though, and the management and storage facilities have also been built. Emily then says that they found a freshwater spring nearby and they are trying to see if they can draw water from it. As for the magic research, Molter and other mages are working hard in the newly formed research building. Takuto is glad to hear all that, and even more so to learn that the elves are taking initiatives like finding water sources. He is really happy that the elves who looked exhausted when they first came here look happy now, and when he tells that to Emily, she starts crying tears of joy. Takuto freaks out on seeing her break down, but Emily soon calms down and resumes the tour. She shows Takuto and Atu to the flesh tree farm and says that thanks to the tools that Takuto produced, they can expect the first harvest soon. Next, she takes them to the source of water the elves found, but notices that the vibe around the place is completely different this time. The water has turned dark as well, and Emlet is disappointed because she thinks that they can't use it anymore. Before Atu can explain why she is wrong, Molter and Gia also arrive there to see the water source. They agree with Emily that the water doesn't seem usable anymore, but then Atu takes a sip, telling them that it is completely safe to drink. She then explains that this place looks dark and gloomy now because it has become a part of Minagra thanks to a feature called the Cursed Terrain. Takuto asks the elves to take a deep breath, and they suddenly feel their minds clearing up and their bodies filling with energy. Atu explains that Cursed Terrain gives advantage to creatures with evil alignment and imposes penalties on neutral and good alignment beings. Since the Dark Elves are part of Minagra, they are evil beings now, and thus, this water is completely safe for them. Gia verifies that by drinking the water, and then Atu says that soon, the entire forest will be a part of the Cursed Terrain. However, Takuto thinks that it can be a little problematic because the Cursed Terrain stands out too much. Molter agrees, saying that once the entire forest becomes this dark, their enemies can easily spot them. Gia once again suggests creating an army, but both Atu and Takuto assure him that they are going to summon a hero. Molter says that he is still not clear about what a hero is, and Atu decides to teach him through an example. She suddenly summons dark tentacles from her back, slashing down nearby trees effortlessly before revealing that she is a hero herself. And even though she has only 1% of her full power, she can still defeat entire armies. Takuto boasts to the surprised elves that heroes are really awesome, and they keep growing stronger with time even if they don't do anything. However, he quickly changes the topic and tells Atu that there was no need to chop down the trees to show her power, and tells her to clean up the mess later. The elves, on the other hand, are truly amazed by what they just saw, and they say that Takuto is really a great being for having such powerful subordinates. They decide to create a grand palace suitable for him, and Takuto says that he doesn't need it right now. However, the elves refuse to let their king stay in similar houses like them. And Atu also tells Takuto that creating a palace will make the people happier, so they should let them do it. Takuto decides to give them his permission, saying that he wants a flying fortress someday, but for now, he will be satisfied with a normal palace too. At the same time, the investigation group led by Lonius and Vertil has started traveling to the cursed forests in the south. Vertil is still not satisfied by the size of their group, and Lonius replies that this is the best they can get as most of their forces are dealing with the northern disturbances. Evil alignment species suddenly appeared in the north, attacking and looting cities, and thus most of their empire's firepower has been diverted to deal with them. The mercenaries suddenly say the guys who went north are going to have a rough time. They feel lucky that they weren't ordered to take up that job, because even though the pay was really good, there is a witch involved in the case, and they don't want to do anything with that. Lonius is curious about the witch, and at night, he asks the mercenary named Bargo about it. Bargo says that there were rumors that the entire problem in the north was caused by a witch, but Lonius refuses to believe that. He says that a single person can't be responsible for such a huge number of monsters, and Bargo agrees. He says that it must be the work of a cult, but Vertil tells him to shut up before he jinxes all of them. Lonius suddenly gets pissed at Vertil because he is drunk. He lectures him that they are not allowed to drink since they serve the god, but Vertil is ready to debate with him on the religious text. He then suddenly ignores him and starts flirting with the waitress who brings him more alcohol. Bargo then asks Lonius why 2 paladins are being sent so far south. He fears that it must be because of another witch, and if that is the case, he wants to take his boys and get out before things get dangerous. Lonius says he doesn't know, but then Vertil says that he has already collected some information from the waitress about what is going on. A bunch of dark elves have recently fled to the cursed forests, and the higher-ups probably just want to deal with them. Bargo is relieved on hearing that, and he agrees that they should deal with the dark elves quickly because they are really skilled at assassinations and curses. Lonius also believes that if they leave the dark elves unchecked, they will soon become a threat, but Vertil tells him to chill out a bit. He says that this is just a recon mission, and if things are about to get violent, they will run instead of fighting. However, Lonius is too stuck up on the idea of defeating evil wherever they see it, and he says that they cannot run away from their duty as paladin. Vertil tells him to stop chasing glory, and fight only when the situation demands it, instead of jumping at every chance to risk his life. He reminds him that he has a family at home, and so does everyone else who is on this mission, and they should be more careful about their decisions. At the same time, in Minegra, the first batch of harvest from the flesh trees is ready and placed in the center of a huge altar. Takuto is standing in front of the harvest with all the dark elves watching him eagerly, wondering what is going to happen now. Takuto starts pouring his mana into the pile of fruits, and suddenly, it transforms into a giant bug. The elves can't believe that Takuto created life from just a bunch of fruits, and Atu starts glazing him, saying that this is not even 1% of his true abilities. She tells the elves that he will grow even stronger and will do more miracles with their devotion to him, and they start cheering on him. Later, Takuto returns to his throne, and he is relieved that he was able to produce a bug monster in exchange for food. It was one of the features of the game, but he still doesn't understand how exactly that works out in this world. But Atu tells him that they don't need to think much about it since they have established a way to produce more creatures to serve their kingdom. She then tells Takuto that it is time to move on to the next step, and he agrees, saying that he will summon a hero as soon as they have gathered enough mana. Atu excitedly asks him who does he plan to summon, and he replies that he wants to summon Ayla, the queen of insects. Atu thinks that is a solid choice, and Takuto starts talking about how Ayla can buff all insect-type monsters and enable them to fight on front lines. She can also create larvae that can do menial labor, and thus, she can support their kingdom on both fronts. Atu is glad that he has given it due thought, and Takuto replies that Ayla was the only choice because the others are too unhinged. Atu agrees because she knows that the other heroes need years of therapy, and Takuto tells her that he hopes to summon them someday too, but not right now. On the other hand, Lonius and others have reached the Dark Continent, and they soon find their first opponent in the form of a hill giant. Lonius begins commanding the mercenaries to support him, but then Vertil says there is no need for that because he will handle the monster alone. He says that they don't have any time to waste, and it will be faster if he takes action and everyone else doesn't get in his way. He swiftly goes to the hill giant and points his swords towards it as the rest of his company watches. Vertil then enchants his sword with holy power, and the hill giant waits for him to finish before attacking. Vertil effortlessly blocks his heavy club and then cuts it clean using his holy sword. Next, he jumps up towards the monster and deals multiple attacks to it, taking it down without giving it the chance to fight back. He returns to his troops after killing the giant, and Lonius starts praising him, saying that the mission will be an easy one because they have got him. Vertil, however, doesn't think so, and that statement starts worrying Lonius. Back in Minegra, Takuto is enjoying a burger when Atu tells him to eat something healthier. He replies that he has only eaten healthy and boring food in the hospital, so he wants to try new things now. He is also worried about her because she has been eating only salad for a few days now, and she tells him that this kind of food suits her more. They talk about how construction has picked up pace now, and Takuto suddenly tells Atu to summon Molter and others after they are done eating. He tells her that the new scout bugs they created have mapped the area around their base, and he plans to do something about the human settlement near them. He first asks Atu to confirm if the town near them is not a part of the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, and she is pretty sure that it is an independent territory with neutral alignment. Takuto is glad to hear that because that means they can negotiate with the town, and he hopes that nothing bad happens during their interaction. He believes that they will be fine for now, and Atu jokes that he will jinx them by saying that. Takuto laughs that nothing like that will happen. He gets a message from a bug just then, showing him that an armed group is approaching the forest. He tells Atu that they need to send them away peacefully if that is possible, and if things go south, they should get ready to fight. Meanwhile, the armed group is indeed Lonius and Vertil's party, and as they head into the forest, Vertil tells everyone to stop because he notices someone approaching. Atu comes out of the forest, wearing black clothes that hide her face and features, and Vertil tells her to identify herself. She claims to be a dark elf who has taken refuge in the forest along with her clan because no other place is safe for them. Vertil understands that and tells her to get aside because they need to investigate the forest, and she replies that they should not go inside. Vertil realizes something is wrong, but Lonius starts yelling at Atu, asking her how dare she disobey a command from God's servant. Vertil immediately lashes out at him, telling him not to interrupt him, and Lonius is pissed at him for scolding him on such a trivial matter. Vertil then resumes his conversation with Atu, telling her that they can't return just because she doesn't want them to enter the forest. He asks her if there is something hidden in there, and she replies that it is just a bunch of elves who want to live in peace. She asks him why is he so obsessed with entering this god-forsaken place, and after a bit of thinking, Vertil reveals that the Saintess had a vision of something really evil hiding in this place, and he can't return without checking it with his own eyes. The mercenaries are shocked because they didn't know this, and Lonius asks him how could he reveal national secrets so casually. Vertil again yells at him, saying that there are times when secrets need to be told. This pisses off Lonius even more because even a high paladin like Vertil doesn't have authority to reveal divine prophecies without authorization from the higher-ups. Meanwhile, Vertil once again asks Atu to let them go into the forest to take a quick peek, but her attitude suddenly changes as she tells them that they won't find anything worth their time inside. She tells them to return back immediately, and Lonius is angry that a dark elf dares to defy a prophecy from God. He can sense the air around Atu changing and decides that there is something really evil inside the forest that they need to investigate. However, Vertil seems to be willing to negotiate with her. He asks her to swear on God that there is no threat to the holy kingdom of Qualia inside the forest, and Atu swears on her God that they are the ones who are more afraid of Qualia. Vertil is satisfied with that, and he declares that they are retreating. Lonius can't believe this, and he points out that the woman is obviously hiding something. Vertil calls him a faithless coward and tells him to stop projecting his fears onto him. He says that they found nothing, and that concludes their investigation. He begins walking away with that, but Lonius is not going to let him make the decisions anymore. He tells Vertil that he is revoking his authority as a high paladin for revealing a prophecy to the enemy and abandoning his duty. He tells the mercenaries that they will head into the forest and confirm what evil is hiding there, and Bargo agrees to it because Lonius is the one signing their paychecks after all. Atu pleads with them not to enter the forest, but Lonius orders his men to capture her, despite Vertil telling him not to do it. Atu just sighs that the negotiations have failed, and a few seconds later, the mercenaries are all skewered on Atu's spikes like fresh kebabs, and Lonius was knocked out first, and he doesn't even remember seeing all that. Vertil is the only person who witnessed everything and is still alive, and he panics as he tells Lonius that they are dealing with a witch. Atu quickly erases her disguise, saying that the conversation was going so peacefully, and it is a shame that things turned out like this. The remaining mercenaries and Lonius are completely rattled by the scene in front of them, and Vertil tells Bargo to send someone back to relay the message immediately. Bargo tells him that all their messengers have been killed in the previous attack, and Atu sighs, before laughing out loud that she is the calamity that they were looking for. She tells them that they have finally found her, and asks what are they going to do about it now. While everyone else is chickening out, Vertil yells at them to grow a pair because they are too deep in trouble to run away now. He commands his men to get ready to fight, saying that things shouldn't have turned out this way, and Atu fully agrees with him. She says that it is all the fault of that mindless loser in the bowl cut who thought that his faith was the most important thing in the world, and now he is going to pay the price for it. Vertil doesn't want to stall her any longer, and he orders the archers to attack first. However, blocking their arrows is child's play for Atu, who starts letting her inner battle junkie show. Lonius nervously asks Vertil what even is a witch, and he replies that he should have told this to everyone before the mission started, even though that would be breaking another rule. Witches are disaster-level monsters that are prophesied by the saints and officially denoted as the greatest threat to their kingdom by the top church officials. He tells them that the disaster in the north was really because of a witch, and he is pretty sure that the woman in front of them is a witch too. Atu has gotten bored of their yapping by now, and she tells them to attack, or she will start attacking them. Verdal commands the mercenaries to fall back because only he and Lonius can fight her. He tells Lonius to follow his lead, and they enchant themselves with holy power as they rush ahead. Atu attacks them with her tentacles, thinking they won't be able to beat her, but holy power gives the paladins extra damage against evil attribute creatures, and they manage to slash through her tentacles. Atu is taken aback by this, but as she is busy monologuing, Verdal suddenly attacks her, and she loses another tentacle trying to protect herself. Lonius also takes down another of her tentacles, and Verdal is confident that if they cut the remaining two, they can win. However, Atu is pissed now, and she suddenly takes 2 mercenaries hostage, thinking that the paladins won't be able to attack her now. However, Verdal is determined to put an end to her before she can become a threat to their kingdom, so he tells Lonius that they will attack. Atu was not expecting this, and she is genuinely surprised when the paladins cut through the hostages along with her tentacles. They think that they will win now, but Atu has been tricking them this entire time, and she decides it is time for the final act. She suddenly uses a bunch of tentacles to turn Verdal into a human pincushion before Lonius can even see. Verdal tells him to run away, but Atu pierces his head, instantly killing him. She flaunts that she didn't have just 6 tentacles, and she can summon as many as she wants, which leaves Lonius even more aghast than he already was. He now realizes his mistake and understands that they can't win, so he orders the mercenaries to run away and scatter in every direction, because they need just one person to reach back to the kingdom and tell them the news. Atu is pissed as the mercenaries run away, but then she notices that Lonius stayed back to give up his life in a desperate final attempt. He attacks her, but surprisingly, Atu blocks his strike using the holy sword. He can't understand how that can happen, and Atu tells him that she stole the ability to use holy power from Verdal, along with all the techniques he spent years mastering. She begins pushing Lonius back while talking about his family because she also stole Verdal's memories and emotions. Lonius is shocked to hear this, and Atu tells him that not only was Verdal really skilled, he also cared about everyone in his party till the last moment. She asks Lonius how does it feel to realize that Verdal had to die because of his stupid ego, and he replies that his will still lives on. He says that the mercenaries will surely deliver the message home when suddenly he hears screams coming from all directions. Atu scoffs, telling him that she ordered the Dark Elves to not let even a single person escape, and Lonius loses his mind. He dashes at her in mad fury, but he can't do anything. Atu doesn't kill him instantly either, and she hangs him upside down as she fills his heart with fear and regret. She tells him that if he had walked away like Verdal said, he would have returned to his family and lived a happy life with them. However, he took the wrong step, and now the future will be entirely different. She tells Lonius that he will die here, and then she will hunt down his family and kill them. She will also kill all the people in all the towns and villages that his group passed through for no reason, and he will be the one to take the blame for all of it. She tells him that her king told her that life is over once people start looking down on you, and to make sure that no one ever looks down on her, she will kill millions of people without any reason, and everyone will hate Lonius for that. His mind has been completely shattered now, and he begs Atu to stop, but she starts acting cheerful, saying that he must have been a good religious person who loved his country and his family, but she hates self-righteous people like him. She tells him to watch the massacre from his little seat in heaven, and Lonius once again begs her to stop. This time, Atu simply tears him apart, ending her torture. Soon, she stands solemnly on the cliff's edge, thinking about her actions and the future while Lonius' wedding ring lies in a puddle of his blood. Just then, Gia and some dark elves come there, telling Atu that they took care of all the mercenaries just like she ordered them to. She tells them that she is pleased with that and decides to head back, leaving the clean up to them. However, before she goes away, Gia has a question for her. He nervously asks her if she plans to follow through on everything she just said to Lonius, and she appears serious for a moment before returning to her normal cheerful self. She says that there is no way she is going to do all that because she is a pacifist and she was just bullying Lonius for the fun of it. She then decides to head to Takuto immediately because she has an urgent report for him. The report is the presence of another witch up in the north, and that is a new term for both of them as there was no unit called witch in the game. Takuto realizes that this is not exactly the game's world in that case, and Atu affirms, saying that though some things are same as the game, the rest are quite different. However, she is confident that they can use the differences in their favor as well. Takuto doesn't understand what she means, so she tells him that in this world, instead of just absorbing the abilities of the opponents she defeats, she can also absorb a part of their memory, which is definitely going to be quite useful. She excitedly tells Atu that she knows a bit about the condition of the Qualia Kingdom already thanks to the 2 paladins she killed. She says that currently, Qualia is busy with the disturbance in the north, so they won't pay much attention to them. But having their entire survey team wiped out will surely raise some flags. Takuto believes that even if Qualia takes some action, they need to be extremely cautious because they don't know what they are dealing with. He is not worried about them, but he is quite curious about the witch in the north. He asks Atu what she knows about the witch from the paladin's memories, and she replies that there is no clear information. The only thing she is sure of is that the witch caused military-scale damage up north. She suddenly remembers that she also knows the witch's name, that is, Isekai'd, the Slurping Witch. Takuto is curious now, and he thinks that if just one witch can cause military-scale damage to a country, she might have come to this world from Earth just like them. He believes that she is on the same level as the hero units in the game, and says that they should be wary of the witch, considering her a potential enemy. Atu says that the witch is definitely an evil-aligned character like them, and they can try making contact with her, but Takuto shoots down the idea, reminding her that it is rare for evil-aligned species to be on good terms with each other. Atu sighs, saying that things are looking troublesome, but Takuto tells her to chill because the witch is far away from them, and even if she turns out to be their enemy, they have time to prepare for that. That brings them to the topic of summoning a hero, and Takuto says that they might need to reconsider which hero to summon. Earlier, he had thought of summoning the Bug Queen Ayla, but now he wonders if it will be better to summon a more combat-oriented hero. Along with that, he feels that they need to change their strategies about dealing with other countries around them. He tells Atu that he has decided to be friends with the independent territory to their east, because they will need allies in case Qualia comes to fight with them. Atu thinks that it will be hard even if the eastern country is neutral-aligned, but Takuto believes that as long as they have something valuable to offer, they will listen to them. He says that they should scout out the eastern country already while they are building up their strength, and Atu decides to carry forward his plan. Meanwhile, in another country, the beast folks are fighting against evil monsters that keep attacking their city. The attack is led by an old but powerful cow woman wizard, and right as she finishes taking down one wave of monsters, another wave arrives, making her wonder what is going on. Back in Minagra, Atu leaves to carry out Takuto's orders, but she stops midway, acting nervous as she says that she might have gone a bit overboard with the paladins. She fears that it might offend Takuto, who truly likes peace, but he tells her that it is fine and nothing she does can offend him. For a moment, even Atu sees the pitch-black king of ruin in Takuto's place, but then she starts simping for him again, telling him that she will carry out his every order. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.